Welcome to a review of the RoboBrew Generation 3 homebrew machine. This is distributed by kegland.com.au and it's also available via kegland.cn. Now, we reviewed the RoboBrew Generation 2 a few months back, if you remember, so you're probably wondering what are the main features that make the Generation 3 stand out from the 2. So we'll talk you through some of those main features and then we'll go through an entire brew with this machine as well. Okay, so the main updates for this is that we now have a programmable controller with 6 steps, so you can automatically set those steps to reach your desired temperatures and time intervals for those steps as well. And we'll talk you through the programmable controllers separately. We have a cam lock fitting on the Sparge arm now, so that's a nice upgrade to see. This is becoming quite standard for a lot of homebrew machines now, as you can see at the top here, and we'll go into this in more detail, but it now locks on very nicely for the recirculation pump to get that wort going back through the grain bed. We have a double mesh screen on the malt pipe. That is also a very useful feature. Hopefully that's going to filter out a lot more of the unwanted trub and sediment so we don't end up with that in our fermentation bucket. We have a sturdy lid with spring clamps now as well, so that's a nice feature to see. We've got the powerful elements as before, 1900 watts and 500 watts on this UK model. Integrated magnetic drive pump as well, so that's all into the base of the unit. And as before, it's also made from 304 stainless steel. So we'll join you again when we're ready to mash in and we've got up to our mash temperature on the RoboBrew Generation 3. Okay, so just before we set the RoboBrew to heat up the water to the mashing temperature, let's just talk you through the features of the control panel. So first of all, if we turn it on, we'll see what we get. Okay, as you can see, there's some numbers displayed already. So the top one here is the temperature, which is currently being measured at the bottom of the machine there. Now this it's actually important to know that the temperature that's taken is at the very bottom and is close to the elements. So as a result, this temperature is not actually going to always be the same as the core temperature inside the grain of the malt pipe. So I would definitely recommend having a second temperature probe available as well, just so you can really make sure that you're hitting those temperatures. Obviously, recirculating the wort as well is going to help to make sure you get an evenly distributed temperature throughout as well. The lower number there, that is the target temperature that we want the water to reach. Now at the moment we haven't set up anything, so it's just on 40 for now. And then you can see it's on manual mode currently, and we'll talk you through the automatic mode and how to set the different stages as well. Okay, so first thing you want to do is to hit the auto man button, turn it on to automatic mode. And now you see you've got stage 1 displayed at the very top of the display, and you've got the settings for timings and also for the temperature that you want to reach. So we had a little play with this earlier. So in terms of step 1, we've already set it up for our mash temperature of 66 degrees C, and we already programmed in the time as well. But those are very easy to do. You just literally press the one you want to change. So for time, for example, we want to change that, then you can just alter that up and down with the buttons. The buttons themselves feel really good as well. There's a good sort of confidence boosting push to them as well, which is always nice to see. And similarly, if you want to change the temperature, press the temperature button, starts flashing, and then you can obviously adapt that up and down as well. If you want to go into another stage, simply press the S1 to S6 button and that will put you onto stage 2, and you can then adjust each time and temperature accordingly. When you're ready to go, simply press the play button. And now, as you can see, the little animation is displayed on the unit and it is heading towards our temperature of 66 degrees C. Right, so we're just approaching our mash in temperature now. And at this stage, we're going to install the malt pipe assembly. So in terms of the malt pipe assembly, what you get is the pipe body itself. You get the pipe handle, which we've just placed already inside. We've got the lower tube and the upper tube, which are for placing on the mesh screens. We have a false bottom inside, we have a secondary mesh screen and the cover screen which goes over the top as well as a overflow funnel and a black silicone plug which is used to stop the grain going down the malt pipe as we put it in. So let's lower that down into the main unit. As you can see, it's got the little feet on there again, so that'll be useful when we come to sparging. We can prop it up on top of the machine there, nice and sturdily. But for now, we're just going to install that in. We did give it a little wipe down, just because you get some of the oils from manufacturing process on there as well. So that now sits nicely inside there with the rubber gasket on top. Okay, I think at this stage we're going to rejoin you when we're pouring in. grains now. We've stirred them well to hopefully get rid of some of those pesky dough balls that you can get forming inside the grain bed. So we're now ready to add on the secondary mesh filter after we've removed the rubber bung from the overflow pipe. If we take off the rubber bung, and the mesh filter can actually fit underneath the handle like so, and there's two little handles on the mesh filter that you can hold and place it over the overflow pipe so it sits on the grain bed. You've then got one more thing to do, and that is to add the overflow conical pipe on top as well. So we just do that on the very top, and then we push all that down gently so that the whole assembly sits gently on top of the grain bed. Excellent. Okay, so now we're ready to start the recirculation of the wort, and we'll join you again when that is all set up. Okay, welcome back. Now, as you can see, we have installed the rotating recirculation arm extension here. And this is seated quite snugly and securely with some cam locks as well. And you can see they are really holding it quite nicely. As well as that, you have the tap on the side here, which you can use to regulate the flow of your wort as it's circulating around there as well. You don't want it too fast; you could end up with scorching at the bottom, and you don't want it obviously too slow as well. Otherwise, it's not going to drain through the grain bed. So yeah, play around with that until you get the right flow rate for your particular home brew. Now, a couple of things worth checking before you install this. That is, first of all, that the little rubber washer is seated snugly inside this part, and also that the tap is in the off position before you assemble. Obviously, when you press the pump on switch, you're going to make sure that the tap is then into the on position as well, which is vertical in this case. Okay, we're going to rejoin you when we are ready for the sparge stage, where we lift the entire malt pipe assembly up onto the little feet located on top here. So we'll see you again sparging at the moment, and it's all going very well, as you can probably hear in the background. The actual process of ending the mash stage and going into the sparge was very straightforward. Just a case of turning off the pump, isolating the valve and undoing the cam locks, and then removing the recirculation arm. And that was all very straightforward to do and relatively mess free. Now, so we lifted up the malt pipe assembly, and as it always is, it's quite heavy and awkward, but actually it was a lot smoother coming out of the Gen 3 model than Gen 2, and all the legs were intact on this one, whereas we had a problem with our Gen 2 legs, so that was really reassuring. And as you can see, it's sitting very sturdily now on top of the location places where the little legs sit, as you might just about be able to see in there. So all that helps to build the confidence in this new generation model. Right, so we're going to do sparging. That's going to take a little while, but we're going to rejoin the process when we are ready for hitting that boil temperature and adding our first hop addition. Right, so we're actually quite a way into the sparge process now, and at this point there's nothing wrong with starting the process of heating up towards boiling the wort. So to do that, we've gone into manual mode here. You can of course do this as a step in auto mode, but we've gone to manual, and we're going to hit temperature. And as you can see, we've already increased our temperature up to the target, which is 120. We want to overshoot the boiling temperature as per the operating instructions. Now, for this process, we can also use the 1900 watt element, so we're going to select that to on, and the 500 one is already on, of course. And then we're going to press play, and at that point, it's going to begin the heating process up to 120, and you can see both element lights have clicked in. Once we do get a steady rolling broil, and again keep an eye on that with making sure it doesn't boil over, then we can knock off the 500 watt element and keep that ticking over with the 1900 watt. Okay, so we're going to rejoin it as soon as we have that nice rolling boil. So we've reached the stage now of boiling. As you can see, it's going quite nicely there, and we've actually switched off the 500 watt heating element, as that's not needed at this stage. We can keep things ticking over with the 1900 watt elements at the moment. So we've added our hop addition as well at the start of the boil, and the boil stage itself is due to last an hour and 30 minutes. We've kept the setting at 120 degrees as the target, the overshoot target there, and I think that's going to help to keep the temperature above boiling there. So we're going to check back at the end of the boil process when we add some findings, and then we'll do the crash cool as well. We'll see you again then. Right, welcome back. So now we're at the stage where we've reached the end of the boil, and we are chilling with our wort chiller attached up to our hose pipe. So we've got the incoming line here, It spirals round through the water chiller, takes some of the heat away from the water itself, and then out through the white hose pipe at the back and down in the sink. So that's going to take maybe 15-20 minutes to bring it down to pitching temperature, around about 25 degrees C. But again, the fittings are really fantastic. They've worked really well for the water chiller. The whole process has been really straightforward with the RoboBrew Generation 3. So the last stage that we're going to join you for will be pouring it into the bucket and then pitching our yeast. So join us again then in just a moment. Our pitching temperature of 25 degrees C, and we're now pouring it into the fermentation bucket, and it's all going very well indeed. The tap itself, super quality, really confident using that, and as you can see, it's almost done. We're going to come back with a full summary of our findings of using the RoboBrew Generation 3. Overall findings of using the RoboBrew Generation 3 have been very favourable. As you may know, we reviewed the RoboBrew Generation 2 not so long ago, and we were debating whether it would be worth recommending this for an upgrade based on the features between the two. And I have to say that having used both now, I would highly recommend the Generation 3. They really have listened to their customers when it comes to the Generation 3. They've listened to the feedback, they've taken on board the comments, and so we've got some upgrades such as the newer control panel here, which is really intuitive to use. Buttons press very well, the whole display looks nice. I think they've really done a good job of that. Another feature we really liked is the Sparge arm with the cam lock system there. That's a lot sturdier, that's great to see, and the fact of course you can control that integrated magnetic drive pump now with the blue valve there on the side very easily and effectively, just to control the amount of water coming through during the mash phase. So those have been listened to, and those are really improved. Another thing about the controller we liked is the fact you can set up the 6 individual steps there. That's really handy if you want to get that heating water up to temperature early on brew day, so save yourself as much time as possible there. That's great. Also, if you're going to do stepped mash profiles and setting alarms for your hop additions, that all comes in very handy indeed. A little small thing to mention, but very important based on how far some of these units are coming from, and that's the packaging. The first unit we had arrived with a couple of dinks in the side, I have to say, and in this case it arrived in perfect condition. The packaging was very nicely spread out throughout the unit, so no damage in transit. So, very impressed overall. It's a very painless process using the RoboBrew. Cleanup was very easy as well, and that's not often we say that for units of this nature. So those were all of real strengths. So overall, we would highly recommend this if you're considering upgrading from either version 1 or 2. Then I think this does make it worthwhile. So well done, really good to see that coming from kegland.com.au. And it's also available from their Chinese distribution warehouse, which is kegland.cn, and hopefully it should be coming to a homebrew store near you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a PubSheds review for kegland.com.au, the RoboBrew Generation 3.